Happy podcast day. I am so excited to be here with you. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. Today I'm going to air a conversation, a training that I did with my Divine Destiny Living a Purpose Aligned Life Facebook community. One of the themes that we have been talking about this past week is showing up for yourself. And with this, I talked about creating boundaries, healthy boundaries, the purpose of boundaries, and why we need them to show up for others. We first need to show up for ourselves. And this is not a selfish thing, as we've been talking about. We've talked about core values. We've talked about the reason behind it. We've talked about how it allows us to pour from a full cup instead of an empty cup when we show up for ourselves. And so with that, listen in. Hey, and welcome to the Full Weight of Joy podcast, the podcast for women who are done stressing about the weight of the world, of expectations and settling for status quo, and ready to step into the full weight of joy. Joy in the journey, whether up or down, joy through the life's challenges, and joy in loving your life right where you are, even though sometimes we feel like chucking it all and moving to Bali. It's for women who are ready to step into who God called them to be. He chose you to be in this world. He created you for a specific purpose. God called us to be the light on a hill, and by embracing who you are and whose you are, you can stand on that hill and shine. The best part, when you're standing next to another woman who's also on the journey, the world gets brighter. My name is Tami. I'm your host and a Master Certified Life Coach and a trained therapist. For over a decade, I've been helping women do just that. Step into who they're called to be and shine. Are you ready, friend, to start your journey? Let's do this. Hey, welcome back. I am so excited to bring, day 4 training to you today. We're going to talk about boundaries and maintaining boundaries and what it has to do with showing up for yourself. This theme in the group this week, I'm really talking about what does it mean and how can we show up for ourselves? And if we're our ultimate goal is to have this purpose aligned life. We want to make an impact. We want to feel fulfilled. We don't want to spin our wheels. We don't want to spend extra time and energy doing things that don't matter. And so this week, just one of the reasons why I wanted to share about this is because when we show up for ourselves, we can then show up for our people. We can show up for our community. We can show up for our churches. We can show up for the PTA. We can show up for our neighbors. We can show up for our friends. We can show up for our family. But it all starts with showing up for ourselves. When we pour out and we show up for everyone but us, this is when we feel misaligned. We feel overwhelmed. We feel scattered and stuck. And so some of the things that are important, we've talked about core values. We've talked about, I just blanked on the things we talked about. But we've talked about several things when it comes to these showing up for ourselves and the importance of it. Yesterday I talked about how pivoting and sometimes just asking yourself in the moment, what do I need and how do I get it and still keep my word to myself? And so today we're going to talk about boundaries. We're going to talk about why maintaining healthy boundaries is showing up for yourself, how it's opposite of being selfish, and then just what we can do, how to discover if there's an area in your life that you need to set boundaries, which, let's face it, I don't know if there's anyone who is so good at boundaries, because boundaries, even when you have strong ones, they don't last forever. As you shift, as the season shifts, so do your boundaries, so do your needs. And so today we're just going to talk about it because it's something that we all could use an overhaul. We can all use let's get clear, let's start looking at what they are and where we can maintain them, where we can add to them, or what boundaries we no longer need. And so let's dive in, because again, I want to keep this short. I want this actionable for you, but I want you to be able to take something away from this and say, yes, because of creating boundaries, I can show up for myself. And so the first reason, let's just talk about the 3 reasons why maintaining healthy boundaries is actually showing up for yourself. And the first one is preservation of energy and well-being. If we try to be everything to everyone, we're actually nothing to no one. We are exhausted. We are tired. We don't have the energy to do the things that really matter. We talked about understanding our core values a few days ago, just the importance of it. And when we know our core values, which I believe that the more clear we are on our core values, the easier it is to set boundaries. We can see the purpose of the boundaries, and we can see how instead of limiting us, it's actually freeing us to have the life that we want. And again, I say the life we want, knowing that what we want is to make a big impact. We want to, step into obedience. Excuse me, I've got hiccups all of a sudden. We want to be fulfilled, but also help others be fulfilled as well. It's not driven from a selfish place. And so this preservation of well-being and energy. We want energy to do the right things. We don't have the energy to do all the things. And so healthy boundaries protect your time, protect your resources, protect your gifts, protect your emotional well-being. It helps you live your purpose instead of just know it. The next one is enhance self-worth and self-respect. When we respect ourselves, we're able to show up for ourselves. We see the value we bring. And when we're at our best, then we can bring our best. When we are confident and we have a self-respect where it's easy for us to say no to things that we know we don't want to do in the first place, things that don't align. I was talking with someone, they wanted to be on my podcast, and I did an interview with them. And midway through, I realized that their values don't align with my values. They don't align with the values that I want for my podcast. And I had to make that hard decision. And I told them, I'm sorry, I'm not going to air this. I appreciate their time, and I learned a lot, and I hope that they took something away from it. I was like, but this is not what I love my listeners. I love my people so much that I want to protect. And it's not even protecting my brand. It's protecting the values that the brand hold. When you come and listen, I want you to know that I have done my research, that I have followed in obedience to Jesus. And I don't get everything right. I don't know the entire Bible back and forth, but I do consult the Bible. I do consult mentors and coaches and spiritual guides. Like I consult these, wisdom, these apples of gold, these wise women who are ahead of me. And so knowing that my values and setting that boundary of, no, this is what I want to be known for. This is what I want to, my character and your character matters. So I had to have that hard conversation. If I didn't know my core values, if I didn't know what my intentions were, if I did not have the self-respect and the confidence to say, I'm really sorry, I wasted your time. I also learned something from this, and now I do more of an interview process before I record the podcast. There's a couple of things that if you can't say yes to, then I know that we're not a good fit. And it doesn't help them as well as it doesn't help you all as well. It's not a mutual beneficial thing. So that self-respect, that self-worth is so important. And when you have healthy boundaries and you can show up for yourself, those increase. Next, this is the one we're all worried about in the first place, is that we don't want to be selfish. Well, when you set boundaries, you have improved relationships. You have a deeper connection with those people around you who really matter to you, because they know what you stand for. They know they can trust you. They know that there's clear expectations. There's mutual exclusive agreements that are made, knowing that leading to healthier, deeper connections that matter and that are valuable. And so when you have these improved relationships, and create these boundaries, it's actually improving relationships, not putting up boundaries around them, like keeping them out. It's not putting a fence around relationships. It's improving the ones that matter. And so those three reasons, those are the three reasons why, big reasons, that setting boundaries are showing up for ourselves, that it helps us become who we want to be, who we're called to be, who we're wired to be. And so I just want to talk for a moment about, here's 3 ways to know an area of your life that you need to explore some boundaries. One is there source or is there a source of stress or discomfort? around your health, around your finances, around your community service, around your spiritual life, around your, like all the realms of your life, the whole purpose, the whole person, the wheel of life. And, it's been a long time since I've done a workshop on the wheel of life and whole self-care. That's coming. I'm going to write that down because I want to share that. And I have a workbook, a worksheet. There you go. I have a graph that something you can print, a PDF you can print, and you can use that to help. Well, when you start identifying these sources of discomfort, you're able to decide, what do I need? What boundaries should I put in place, and how can I get them? And so reflect on situations or interactions that is like, okay, when I don't have a boundary around this area and it's causing stress for me or those around me, keep a journal and really see, and you can start to see trends. I am a big proponent of writing things down and journaling. I have friends who are like, oh, I want to journal. I just can't do it. And I want to challenge that because we don't need to write novels. A lot of times journaling, if you take 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes answer one question, it gives you enough evidence that it's working that you want to do more. And you get the satisfaction and the joy and the peace that comes and the understanding of yourself. That's how I started to understand when I was crossing over some boundaries, some core values that I wasn't willing to cross. And so by journaling, I'm realizing, like, ooh, there's a trend here, or there's a feeling here that I need to explore. The next is listen to your feelings and reactions. Okay, so feelings lie. They're valuable. We need to be in touch with our feelings, but we cannot trust the feelings that we're having. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole podcast. That's a whole nother thing, because there's a lot of people that feelings are everything. My daughter, feelings are everything. The thing is that it's our thought that creates the feelings, which means if we want a different feeling, we choose a different thought. Now, sometimes we have to know our feeling in order to get to, well, what was I thinking about? And so the feelings there, though we don't have to take them at face value, we do need to address them. We do get to experience them. Don't fight them. Don't shove them down. Don't avoid them, because then they get bigger than they really are. And they'll stop you from creating the boundaries that you need if you don't actually listen to what you're feeling, what your needs are in the moment. So your feelings and your reactions, and like I said, I've mentioned many times, is our goal is to respond instead of react. By knowing our feelings, knowing our thoughts, knowing our desires, knowing our core values, knowing our core fears, our core motivations, we're able to respond. So when we start to have those knee-jerk reactions, those instinctual reactions that don't align, that don't reflect our hearts or what we want to show, that is a sign that area we need a boundary. And then the last one is assess your time and energy. Every season, and seasons sometimes are like, so we're in the summer season right now for me, and summer season meaning no school season, which the kids both have math to do this summer, and they have reading a little bit, but it's the summer season. So it's less structured. So our boundaries around this and my energy level, it actually takes more energy for me to manage this than when I have routine. So then we're going to go to the fall season, the school starting season, and that's a whole different season. But so identify and define the seasons for yourself. When does that shift? And I create lists of energy giving and energy draining activities. I've mentioned this before in the podcast, how sometimes in one season, an energy giving activity actually becomes an energy draining in the next. Cooking is one of these tasks. I love to cook, but I don't like to be rushed. I don't like throwing things together last minute and not feeling like I don't have a plan. And so some of the seasons are so busy with sports and events that I do have to protect cooking. I know that I don't enjoy it as much. And so I don't have the time to enjoy it. And it's more of an energy draining. So I will do more crock pot, more make ahead, more meal prep, more, I put things in place. But when you assess the energy it takes to do different things, you're able to see, okay, this time, with this task, it's really important to me, but it drains me. So I need to make sure that I protect it, put boundaries around it, and make sure that I have some time and energy to allot to it. And so when you identify the sources, when you listen to your feelings and reactions and address them, and you start to assess your time and your energy, you're able to see where your boundaries are needed. And so I just want you to sit with that for a moment, because boundaries, we make these big things like, oh, I need to set boundaries. And it's something that you can do immediately, something that you can do. And it's something like one boundary can shift or change your whole life. And again, when you put a boundary in place, doesn't mean you need to put it forever. There's times when I was in active grief, I needed to put some really strong boundaries around just to protect my energy. Now the boundaries around grief are not as strong, because I have the energy, I have the strength, I have the healing to deal with them. When stressful situations don't knock me down as much as they did 10 years ago, like after I lost my husband. It was similar now to like 15 years ago when I was in the military, and I can handle different crises at the same time. I can handle different things because I protected my energy, because I protected and I became stronger and healed, and I listened to myself. I show up for myself, because when I do that, then I can show up for others. And so I want to leave you with this. Like, one thing that I like to, an action step for today is, what is one boundary that you can put into place? And it's how can you communicate one of your needs? So I want you to sit today. This is your action step, your journal question. This is what I'm asking you to do, is sit and think about what is something that you need today. Do you need more energy? Do you need more time? Do you need more resources? Do you need to take care of yourself more? Do you need to say yes? Do you need to say no? Do you need to go to the gym? Do you need to pay a bill? Do you need to clean out the fridge? Do you need to just sit and do nothing by yourself? Do you need to read a book? Think about it. Sit for a moment, just ask yourself and really pray about, like, God, show you what a need that you have. Then I want you to create a boundary. Create a system, create something. And it can be simple as, when I feel this, I remind myself that. Like when I'm starting to feel stressed, I remind myself what's important, that my value is not tied into what I'm doing. So if I don't get it done, it's okay. That could be a boundary. And so I want you to sit and think about that. And I am just so glad that you're here. And I know I've talked about it before, but I have a challenge coming at the end of the month, a permission to pivot, where we are going to talk about this whole idea of having this purpose-aligned life and purpose-aligned business, and how to give yourself permission to change things, to shift things, to not do the same thing that everyone expects, to step in and to see who you are and what you need. And all of these trainings this week and over the next couple of weeks that I'm going to do all tie into that, because when we show up for ourselves, we can show up for our purpose, which means that we show up as an impactor, which means that we can be fulfilled and we can be obedient and we can shine, and it's easy, and God's burden is light, and it just makes us feel better. All right. So stay tuned. All of that's coming probably the end of next week. I'm pretty sure that's my goal, is to get the sign up sheet done by then, so that way you can sign up, reserve your seat. It is free. We're going to do 5 days. We're going to meet together on Zoom instead of a live video like on Facebook, just so we can interact. You guys can ask your questions and we can really talk. And I want you to walk away knowing areas in your life that you have given yourself permission to pivot, to make a change, and to start living the life that you know you're worthy of, you know you're capable of, and you know is set before you. So with that, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Have a happy 4th of July.